I'm Stephen Mander-Jones. I'm a gameplay designer at 2K Australia.
I'm Anthony Birch. I'm a writer at Gearbox, and we're going to talk about Athena while you watch gameplay of Athena in Borderlands pre-sequel.
Cool, so we'll jump into Athena's skill trees here. So first up, we've got her action skill, which is called Kinetic Aspis. Basically, it's Athena's personal shield, and when she activates it, she pulls up her shield, and she can prevent all incoming damage from a frontal direction. And not only that, the shield will store that incoming damage, and she can then throw it out into her enemies and deal double that damage back to them.
That sounds incredible. Tell me more about the individual skill trees.
Yeah, sure. So first up, we've got the Phalanx Tree, which is heavily focused on her action skill, the Aspis, and buffing that up and giving it additional effects. For example, she can change it so that it will absorb incoming elemental damage types with the Prismatic Aegis skill here. So if it's damaged by fire damage or shock damage, it will then deal that type back when she throws it out, which is really cool.
That's electrifying, Stephen.
There's also some really good co-op buffs in this skill tree, so if you're playing with friends, you've got nice ways to sort of protect your friends, heal them, pull them out of fight for your life, or draw aggro from the enemies back onto Athena. So if you're playing like with a partner or in a group, this is a really good skill tree for that. The capstone skill of this one is also really cool. It's called Wrath of the Goddess here. It basically allows the Aspis to jump to additional enemies when she throws it. So like if you've filled it right up with a ton of energy, you can just wipe out a whole room of dudes with that one. It's super cool.
So that tree was about playing with friends. What if I'm alone in life?
Well, that skill tree will still work for you if you're alone in life.
That's amazing.
But moving on, we've got the Zyphus skill tree here, which is focused on her close combat weapon, which is her sword called Zyphus. It's an energy sword. So this skill tree is filled with lots of melee buffs and high mobility things, and one of the key features of this skill tree is with the Ren skill on the third tier here, she unlocks a new status effect for herself, which is a bleed. So her melee attacks will cause enemies to bleed over time. And then moving on from that, she has skills like Bloodlust on the next tier, which will help her regenerate health as she makes people bleed. So as she spreads her bleeds around the battlefield, she gets stronger and stronger and can keep going. And as we get down to her capstone skill here, which is called Blood Rush, it basically converts her melee attack into like a dashing strike, so that helps her get those bleeds going on her targets. And the cool thing about this skill is if it hits a target that isn't bleeding or kills someone, the cooldown it has is immediately reset, so you can sort of chain it between a bunch of enemies and just get them all bleeding at once, which is really cool.
That was an interesting screen to go to, Chris.
So much to learn.
Tell us more about the final skill tree, Stephen.
Sure. We've got the Saronic Storm skill tree here, which is her elemental skill tree. It's mainly focused on fire and shock damage. It makes use of...
That's electrifying, Stephen.
It's electrifying and inflaming.
That's hot, is what you meant to say.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's why you're a writer. It makes use of a stacking mechanic using Maelstrom, which as you deal fire and shock damage, you generate Maelstrom stacks, which increase your elemental damage output, and these stacks constantly decay over time, but that rate of decay increases as you build up more. So basically you get these big spikes of power as you generate your stacks. You have a lot of other skills, such as Smite, which add extra fire and shock attacks into your arsenal. This one is cool because when you're airborne, you can hit enemies with this fire and shock damage from above. And since we've got low gravity, like it's really easy to trigger that off because you can easily spend a lot of time airborne. Zeus Is Rage is a pretty cool one as well. It's a modification to the Aspis, so when she throws it out, it spawns a fire and lightning storm at the target location, dealing like constant damage to anyone it hits. And the cool thing about that is it'll generate you a ton of Maelstrom stacks as well, so it sort of snowballs you into all this extra damage. A few other cool skills here as well, like a capstone here, Hades Shackles. It modifies her slam attack so that any enemies damaged by it, she tethers herself to them with like a lightning tether. and if she keeps that tether without breaking it until the end of the duration, any tethered enemies release a fire nova, which hurts more people, generates more maelstrom stacks, and she even gets bonus maelstrom stacks on top of that. So you really want to make use of your slam and hit as many people as you can and really get a big spike in your maelstrom stacks from that one.
I might like to see that skill.
Cool, well, I think we could pick that up.
That's not how you spend skill points, you big dumb idiot. There you go.
Yeah, well, what you're noticing there is the slightly irregular layout here. In the first tier, we've got 4 points and then 1 because it basically makes the Maelstrom skill compulsory to advance further down the tree. Kind of similar to what players would have seen with the Necromancer's ordered Chaos Tree in Borderlands 2. I'll just grab a few other skills to go with it. Looks like we're ready to go.